Okay, very good morning, dear leaders. Invitee wishes you a happy safety month, safety day. It's been a pleasure to meet you all once again in this Invitee Industrial Empowerment session. This is the 46th week. This is the 46th week. Thanks for this enormous support and thanks for sharing your experience, your knowledge towards the particular topic. It always gives a immense pleasure. We have been started this process, this noble cause on last year, and from that we have been ensuring that many new topics and the topic which is being needed for our industries has been discussed with lot of new objectives, lot of new trainers have been introduced. INVT, Invent, Innovate, and Inspire is been founded by alumnus of College of Engineering Indy, RLI, Regional Labour Institute, IIT Madras, with a vision to ensure that people should be safe, the kind of technological innovation should be incorporated with a efficient and effective cost that ensures that new ways of doing things, new ways of empowering our peoples, new way of teaching should be there in the industries. INVT is having three verticals, three wings INVT is having. First wing is most important wing of research and development. Research and development, which ensures that the research has been carried out in the kind of disruptive technologies, IoT, artificial intelligence, and also machine learning and deep learning. INVT every year commits such a way that one research project is being framed out and it is being done for our society good cause. Last year, INVT have been came out with COVID smart CCTV, which is being installed in many industries and educational institutions to ensure that artificial intelligence has been incorporated to identify the persons who have been wearing masks and also their history tracking is being used. This year, INVT is being committed to find a waste for the Jellicut person who have been there. And INVT is having a second vertical of training wing. Training wing is having a separate wing. In this training wing, training has been conducted on technological parts, IoT, artificial intelligence, deep learning, safety from the kind of traditional conventional topics to new topics, and also auditing, and also ISO 45001 training consultancy. They have been doing it on. The last vertical is audits and inspections. This year, for this 51st safety day, INVT training wing has been introduced a new topic, new model, which has been known as yogic ergo training. A lot of research has been done. You will be getting the notification. Last year, we have been having a proud to say that we introduced a model called mind re-engineering, behavior-based safety upgradation model. So with this note, yes, thanks for being joining with this wonderful session. Thanks for joining on this wonderful day. We have been going to have a session on confined space. Lot of research has been done. You will be getting the notification. Last year, so confined space, yes, confined space. Last 2 weeks before, we had a session on Telugu for CCT and Tada peoples, and many of our INVT circle members, they have been told that they also want to need a session on English. So we have been going to provide this training on confined space safety, how we are going to integrate safety to the sixth sense. I am Satyanarayanan, HTech professional, having a decade of experience in quality, safety, and technology. And I've been much happier, and also I've been thanked this INVIT training wing for this wonderful opportunity. So, these are going to be the today course objectives, course a kind of agenda. The four things are how to impact of confined space accidents, how we are going to ensure that this confined space accidents have been creating an impact. We have been going to see that why in confined space many big accidents have been happening. What is the cause for that? Then you are going to know about the hazards in confined space. The third one is going to be selection of personal protective equipment in confined space. Next, we are going to have the last part is going to be the NVT special tool for confined space proactive safety measures. So these are going to be the four takeaways. With this takeaways, if you have any queries, okay, if you have any queries, kindly you can able to put it in the chat box. And last 5 minutes, we can able to have our Q&A, question and answers. So confined space is a dangerous workplace because we all have to know that confined space is should not be a workplace which we have been working on. Confined space is always its need a kind of extra expert and also the kind of effort from the safety person or the HR person to ensure that some proactive measuring and monitoring systems have been incorporated into it. Many times, okay, many times, whenever we have been seeing in the newspaper, whenever we have been hearing from the newspaper that so many of the lives have been lost due to this confined space. And also in this accidents, kindly look that if you can able to have a keen look on that, you can able to understand that many confined space accidents, not only one person or two-person, more than one person has been losing their life. The main problem there, what is the main objective? Why people have been not aware about that is based on their understanding. Because in confined space, people are not going to work continuously. So, right? People are not going to work continuously. Whenever they have been working, the persons who have been working in a kind of industry, we are going to make sure that for time being, they are going to work in this confined space. So, there, based on psychological effect, there should be a shift in the way of work. There should be a shift in their attitude. There should be a shift the way which they saw the kind of hazards. That kind of shift, whenever you are going to make sure that people have been working inside a confined space as a management person, as a good industry, you have to create that space, create that time to ensure that your people have been understanding it. First, the main important thing is there is lack of education and training and also preparation. Are they prepared? Whenever you are going to ask them, are they prepared for confined space entry? Many would have been telling that yes, we have been prepared based on the PPEs, based on the equipment. It's good. But what about, have you prepared for any emergency? Have you prepared for any emergency? If you are going to get any emergency, how you are going to rescue? Are you prepared for that? Many times the answer is no. Okay, many times the answer is no. 2 years back, INVIT had a kind of opportunity to work on a confined space for a very big oil and gas sector. They told that they are having a all this multi-gas detector, single gas detector, but they felt okay, but they felt that it is not been serving the purpose. Then we have been found that we have been sending drones inside the confined space, and the drones has been getting the images. In that way, a lot of researchers has been done. And all this presentation, all this materials which we have been presenting now is based on that research only. So next important thing is why this confined space is a most dangerous workplace is nothing but is the kind of the changing conditions. Changing condition. Before putting the permit or on the time of putting the permit, the situation in a confined space would be better, would be good. But immediately while persons are going to work or after they are working for half an hour or 45 minutes, the kind of the situation can able to change. The situation can able to ensure, okay, the hazardous condition can able to happen. So always make sure that all these things has been incorporated to ensure that confined space have been not a dangerous space. First and foremost, make sure that awareness, proactive education and training preparation, not only for entry and exit, at time of any kind of emergency, whether your persons have been prepared or not. This is going to be not a traditional job requirement. See that whenever we are going to have this confined space workshop of one day, we always going to ensure that whether your persons have been unconscious competent. It's not only for confined space, for any kind of hazardous job. It may be on working at height, it may be a confined space, it may be a hot work. So all this job, the kind of unconscious competence, this is going to be the competency requirement for your persons. The persons whoever have been going to work inside that confined space, you have to ensure that the persons have been unconsciously competent. What is unconsciously competent? I will give you an example. Okay, I will give you an example. If you are going to drive a bike, even after your sleep, after waking up your sleep, immediately you can able to drive. Whenever a pressure is going to be induced, a pressure can be induced in you, at that time your subconscious or your unconscious is going to be worked on. So at that time, whether you can able to take the right decision or not, whether at that time you can able to do the right safety, okay, SOP or not, that is known as unconscious. Unconsciously, you have to ensure that the requirements, the safety, okay, SOPs, the emergency procedures, they all should be unconsciously, it has to be incorporated in the persons, whoever they have been working in a confined space. It is not that giving them the knowledge, giving them the awareness, it is not sufficient, my dear leaders. It's always you have to ensure that it may be on any kind of hazardous job in your industry, your persons are maybe working on. You have to ensure that whether they have been aware, whether they have been unconsciously, whether they have been competent or not, whether they can able to do it or not. So your training should be based on that way. Okay, that's why I told you this neuro-techno corporate model. Neuro-techno corporate model, that too in hazardous, this kind of training, you have to ensure that your persons have been unconsciously competent. How to ensure safety at confined space? Make sure that if these 5 steps have been there, then you can able to tell that my confined space in my industry is a safe place to work. What is the first step? First step, you have to ensure that whether your employees have been aware about hazards related to confined space in your firm, not common hazards. Whenever we are going to have a trainee, most of the time we may be talking about a common kind of hazards. Okay, that's good, but make sure that your employees, okay, your employees, persons who have been working in the confined space, they have to ensure that they have been much aware about the hazards related to the confined space in your firm. In your firm, what are the hazards have been presented? Then they have to ensure that how these hazards, okay, how these hazards have been converted into risk and how this risk is going to be mitigated. Mitigating, reducing or eliminating, how it is going to be done, whether it is going to be done on engineering control by using a blower, or we are going to use a kind of safety equipment, a kind of K-pod, tripod, to ensure that we are reducing this hazards. We are reducing this hazards. So all that persons who have been working in that confined space and also having a supervisor, the supervisor has to understand that how they are going to mitigate that. Then implementing a confined space policy. You have to have a exclusive policy for confined space policy. In that policy, SOP should be there, starting from what is confined space, how many confined space are there, whether what are the permit required confined space, what are the non-permit required confined space, the depth of this confined space, okay, who has been authorized to work in the confined space, when they have to put a permit, when they have to close, if something has been done, emergency has been done, how to ensure that we are going to save them, what are the equipments has to be used, what are the PPE has to be used, what is the safe operating procedure, everything. Okay, all these things has to be there in this confined space policy. And next, train the employees. We have to ensure that, yes, ensuring that developing a policy is a good one. Next, you have to ensure that the policy has to be understood by the concerned persons, concerned employees. Without ensuring the policy, without ensuring this, what is the procedure written in a policy, it's not going to be helpful for us at all. It's going to be a great mess which we have been going to do on. So it may be not only on this policy. If you want to ensure that a well-defined safety culture has to be there in your organization, you have to ensure that the policy is being understood by the end user, as ISO 45001, participation and consultants. 5.4 is asking about that. So how you are going to ensure that your persons have been aware about your policy? Then you are going to ensure that sustainability of CS policy, confined space policy. What is the sustainability? Whether I am there or not, whether supervision is there or not, whether it is contractor or a full-time employee, whether they are following it in a right method or not. At any given point of time, whether they have been following it, and also improvement in that confined space policy. Improvement in always ensuring that hazards have been picked out, or the existing hazards, we are working to ensure that the hazards has to be reduced, the risk has to be reduced, which has been associated to the hazards. Policy should not remain as a same one without any revision. Whenever we are going for this ISO 45001 auditing, we will always ask that whether your policy, okay, you can able to show your number of policy you have, whether you upgraded or revised your policy. I'm not going to revise the policy. That's not going to be the key way, because every year we should be able to have some target in such a way that how to reduce the risk associated with this kind of hazardous job. That is going to be the ultimate aim for us. So ensure that you are going to do that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps is going to be most important steps. And you can able to have a checklist for the 5 things also. Then you can able to have a self-diagnose in your industry and see that how it can able to help and what is the step you want to implement in your organization. Because if you have a gap analysis, then you can able to know that what are the things we have been not having, what are the things we have to add upon. Then you can able to frame a well defined process to ensure this confined space safety in your industry. So we are talking as a confined space. Confined space, what does the confined space means? Confined space is nothing but limited or restricted means of entry. It's nothing but a single way to enter and exit, which we are not going to have a kind of unfavorable ventilation. We are not going to have a natural ventilation. It is not designed for continuous employee occupancy. It is not designed for continuous. If you want to work for in a continuous way, we have to need some more equipment, modern equipment, to ensure that all these ventilations are being provided. So confined space is a restricted space. We have to ensure that there should be a unfavorable natural ventilation, and also it is been designed for continuous employment. It is not designed for continuous employment. So these are the different types of confined space. It may be a silo, it may be a small confined space, it may be like a this structure, whatever this structures may be, you have to ensure that it is a confined space. And also there are 2 types of persons you have to ensure that you have to define whenever you are having a confined space entry in your in your premises. One is entry supervisor, next one is entrant, the last one is attendant. Entry supervisor, who is going to put the permit system, who is going to ensure that what are the different types of hazards raised, how to mitigate that, the emergency plan. The main person for ensuring the emergency plan is this entry supervisor. He has to know everything about emergency, how to save a person, and what are the hazards have been associated with that. So this entry supervisor plays a very major role. So he ensure that Even okay, even he should be able to be well trained in the first aid, confined space first aid. I request from this forum, I request, I think many of the top management and safety officials have been here. I request you all, whenever you are going to conduct a first aid training, whenever you are going to conduct a first aid training in your institution, in your industries, okay, make sure that you are going to cover the first aid requirement for a confined space. If a person has been trained inside a confined space, what they have to do, what should not have to do, what is the position they have to lay down, all these things, yes, we have to train our persons in that way they have been understood in a right way. Next, about the entrance. Okay, sir, why an organization need to revise their safety policy? Yes, sir. Very good question. So the things is, in 2022, you may capture hazards based on your current situation. You will have listed out. You will be going to work on with the main hazards based on your risk priority number. Okay, good. But next year there should be change in the condition. Okay, there may be a introduction of process. If not, sir, everything remains same. If not, at least you have to ensure that that hazardous job which you are having in your industries, you have to ensure that how to reduce the risk further. How to reduce the risk further. It's not that okay, implementing or giving a PPEs or certain set of instruction is being enough. We should able to have a target with this always. The hazardous job which we are doing, we have to keep on working in such a way that as minimum risk exit in that place at least. Is it clear, sir? So always it should be a revision. It should be a revision, and okay, that makes our job very interesting. Or otherwise, our job would have been a kind of proactive job of maintaining them, saving them. Okay, good. We are going to put our technical knowledge also to ensure that it's a process. It's a process driven. Whenever we are talking about 45001, we'll be telling it's a process driven. Whoever works in confined space, I add a process in such a way that no deviation can able to happen. That should be the utmost goal of every one of us. So the next one is known as entrant. Entrant who is going to enter. Main important thing is you have to have the record of the persons. Okay, medical records of the person who is entering inside. Body weight, BMI, whether he is having other any complications or not. He has to know what type of hazards. Why? Based on that hazards only, he has to take. Okay, based on that hazards only, you have to take what details you have to do, what precautions you have to do. Next thing is how to wear a PPE, confined space PPE. How to wear a confined space PPE and how to the kind of communication. This lacks in some of the industries. Whenever we go for this training, the entrant and the attendant may not have a proper way of communication. We are not going to talk here. It is going to be only a sign language, or we have been going to shake that. Okay, we have been going to shake that lanyard. So the way of communication between these two persons is going to be very effective. That's going to be the key for that. Then we have been going to ensure that the attendant, who is the attendant, the person who have been at the top and who is going to assist this entrant, who is going to be the attendant. You have to be always there at the top. Whenever there is an emergency, you have to react for that. You have to react for that, and you should be able to be understand what is the communication he will get from the entrant, and also the attendant can also able to give some kind of information, some kind of communication whenever he senses any kind of hazards have been there. So a role between entrant and the attendant is very, very important. We have to give a kind of exclusive training for these two persons, and they have to understand their importance. So what is the type of hazards in a confined space? Know your confined space hazards very well. It's not that a general case we are going to study that. We have to ensure that, yeah, a kind of exclusive environment has been there in your premises. You have to ensure that you have been well aware about your confined space. What are the things you are going to see about? Presence of hazardous atmosphere. It may be of oxygen deficiency may happen, oxygen enrichment may happen. Both is always dangerous. Oxygen deficiency is also dangerous. Oxygen enrichment is also dangerous. Toxic material, yes, it can able to happen, and it is also very dangerous for us. So based on hazardous atmosphere, these are the things. And configuration hazards. Configuration hazards is nothing but is combination of two or more hazards. It may be of varies of wet surface, it may be of slippery to work, it may be of narrow working, and we may not be able to get at time of emergency, we can't be able to go out. So these are different types of important hazards which is related to configuration hazards. Next one is changing condition of space. It's nothing but while you are going, as the time which you have been put, okay, at the time which you have been put, the permit system, till that the kind of confined space will be a less hazardous one. But once it has been done, once a permit has been done, based on the work, the nature of the work which is being done at inside a confined space, there is a possibility in such a way that things can able to change. Things can able to change. And also about our CO2, human can able to excel more number of CO2. So based on number of person working inside a confined space is also decides how it's going to change the confined space. So these are some of the important things. You can able to see that the effects of HO2 exposure. It's one of the example we have been given. Okay, if it is below then 1 ppm, you can able to sense. Then 20 to 100, you will get this irritations. You can able to get a headache and all. Next, if it is 250, okay, if it is 250 to 100, you are going to get a kind of difficult breathings. You are going to be, it's going to be a acute effect. Next, if it is 500 to 750, loss of coordination. You can't even know how to escape from this place. If it is more than 750, immediate IDLH, immediate death, immediate danger to life and health. So don't ever, okay, this particular slide is showing that don't ever rely, okay, only on your nose sensors. If the kind of exercise is going to be more, or any gas which has been possible in your confined space, don't allow, okay, don't alone, make sure that based on the sensory parts, our persons can able to escape. It's not going to be the correct task. And also you may tell that, sir, we are using multi-gas detector. Multi-gas detector, how many times you are going to ensure that, what is the time interval you are going to ensure that you are using the multi-gas detector in the confined space? It's going to be purely based on the nature of job you are going to do inside that confined space. If it is 15 minutes interval, good. Or it is going to be a continuous monitoring, well, good. So you have to, okay, you have to ensure that what type, okay, what type of monitoring mechanism you have, what type of monitoring mechanism you have in your confined space policy. You have to ensure that. Okay, next one is the confined space policy. Confined space policies. Yes, we are going to see that how a confined space policy can be written. And first you are going to ensure, okay, first you are going to ensure that a policy has to be there. If you are going to have a policy, then you can able to ensure that all these parameters have been available in the confined space. First, all the spaces have been identified. Second, whether in that all the spaces the hazards have been identified, the kind of hazards have been identified or not. Next, make sure that what is the procedure to issue and cancel permit in that confined space. How to issue, who is going to issue, and what is the methodology to cancel the permits, and what is the SOP for work entry and receipt. Where something is not done in a right way, how we can able to rescue, how you are going to control or eliminate the hazards in the confined space. You are going to talk about the necessary safety equipments in that confined space. You are going to talk about the attendance. At least you should be able to have one attendant. How you are going to coordinate multi-employer entries. For example, in a confined space, you are going to have a scenario that both employees and contractors will have a chance to work. How you are going to coordinate with them, how you are going to plan for rescue, confined space rescue, and you have to ensure that the program, all these things which you have been listed out, you have to ensure it is been reviewed annually. If possible, this entry and exit, okay, it should not be not only a classroom training, it should be a live training, practical training to the persons who have been working inside a kind of confined space, that ensures that they have been well defined, they have been aware about. So all these are the important elements. I'm not saying this short should be okay one and only element. These are the important elements. Make sure that your confined space policy is having all these things. So whenever you are going to have a policy will make sure that it's going to give you a clear guidance. It's going to be give you the kind of consistency, accountability, efficiency, and clarity. Who is going to be there, how long it's going to be there, it's going to on accountability, consistency. Whenever I work in that confined space, I will follow this method only, whether I am there or not, whether a employee, contractor, or whoever they may be. If you are going to work in confined space, you have to follow this. So the consistency will be there, clarity will be there, and how as an organization we are going to work inside the confined space is going to be the well-defined process. Next is going to be the confined space plan. Whenever you are going to have the policy, the next one is going to be confined space plan. What is confined space plan? What we are going to do? Confined space plan is nothing but we are going to ensure, okay, we are going to, okay, once you are going to develop your policy, the next stage is going to be the confined space plan. It's nothing but a kind of manpower control, how you are going to control your manpower, how you are being going to control your the kind of control equipments, next about the safety equipments you have, the rescue equipments you have, medical emergency you have, and next about emergency preparedness. The 6 things should be compulsory, it should be there. About the manpower, who is going to be attended, who is going to be entrant, what is the competency of the supervisor, all these things has to be very clearly, it has to be defined. So next about the control equipment. See that the control equipment can be a lockout, blackout, and tagout. It can be a blower. It can be administrative, a kind of a barricading system also, which can able to ensure that with a notice. Okay, with a notice, it can also able to ensure. So these are some of the control systems we have. You list out what are the control systems you have in your a kind of confined space. Next about confined space PP, personal protective equipment. About half mask, about a kind of half mask is for attendant who is going to be outside the confined space. The entrant is going to be oxygen depletion. At that time, we can also able to ensure that continuous airline system can be used, and also with this a kind of proper PPEs, proper mask, a kind of proper gloves, gumboots, and also if it is going to be hazards to our ears, we can also able to use the kind of ear plugs. So these are some of the important personal protective equipments, and you have to list out what are the personal protective equipments you have. Okay, you have in this. Next, we are going to see about the monitoring systems. Okay, monitoring system. What is the monitoring system? We have many times we have this multi-gas detector. Multi-gas detector. This multi-gas detector makes sure that your persons have been well trained in that, how to use it, what are the different signals it will get, based on that signal, what they have to do, when they have to, when they have to inform. So the attendant, whenever we are going to talk about the attendant should be able to have a multi-gas detector. The entrant at least can able to have a single gas detector that always monitors the oxygen level. Whenever there is oxygen depletion, immediately that entrant can able to give a communication to attendant, and immediately we can able to escape from that place. That is very, very important. So think about a gas entry system. Next, in gas monitoring, you can also ensure that the blowers have been used. Okay, blowers can also be used. Here is a very big subject, but I will tell you the most important part. Whenever you are going to use this blower, okay, always make sure that before you are going to suck the air from inside, there should be a air purging should be done. Air should be purged inside. Then you will get all this hazardous gas and also the atmospheric air filter. Then you can able to take the air from the confined space. That is going to be the best way you can able to ensure that the hazardous gas in the confined space have been sucked out by using a blower. So what is the first step? Purge the air. Then you take out the air. It's going to be more helpful, and it can able to be a very effective method which you can able to use on. Other safety equipments, always you can able to use a kind of intrinsic safe torchlight. Always all the equipments which you use inside a confined space, make sure that it is intrinsic safe. It is intrinsic safe. Next, distress alarm. If there is no movement from the entrant more than 1 minute, it can able to give you an alarm. It is known as distress alarm. Then you can able to have a kind of mic to ensure that proper communications has been communicated with the entrant, and also a kind of manual siren. Manual siren, if there is any kind of emergency, immediately you can able to communicate to your entire plant to save that entrance. So what about the other safety equipments you have? You can able to list it out. Rescue equipment, it can be of K-pod, it may be of tripod, it can be of confined space lanyards and belt. Whenever you are going to use that safety belt. Okay, ensure that you are choosing a right safety belt for the confined space entry and exit. Don't go for common belt. Okay, don't go for common belt. We have to ensure that you have to ask your vendor that you have to need a separate belt for entry and exit at confined space. The D-ring position will vary based on our needs. So this is going to be whenever a person is been going to inside, you can able to see what are the things we have been on here. It is helmet, it is belt, it is retractable lanyard, pulley is been there, tripod is there, a winch is there to ensure that safe entry and exit of an person has been ensured. Medical emergency equipments. Okay, at least we have to have, whether you are having AED, good. Make sure that the AED has been approachable to the attendant and also it's been nearer to the workplace. Then at least we have to have a kind of ampo bags. If there is oxygen depletion, immediately you have to rescue that person and you have to ensure the right amount of oxygen has been purged inside that victim, and also to save that victim in a right way. You have to always ensure. It's a very, very important point, my dear readers. Every time, whenever a person is going inside and he is working, you have to ensure, okay, you have to ensure that he is aware, okay, he is aware that attendant is having the safety equipment nearby. Something is done, immediately we can able to save that person. Okay, some a kind of confined space technologies. Yes, as we have been told you, there are much improved technologies, not only from NVT. Many persons have been doing that. If you are having a very big confined space, a drone can able to send inside. You can able to take pictures, and also you can also able to sense the gases which has been felt, which has been there in the confined space. So a lot of technological things have been happened, and also 24/7 monitoring inside a confined space is also has been having upon. So this are a lot of technological based on your needs. You can always use to put down. Always you can able to integrate this technology in your confined space. This is InVT mail ID, invtcorporate@gmail.com. If you have any doubts, okay, any doubts, any questions, next 5 minutes we will have the Q&A sessions. Any questions related to confined space?
No, sir.
Okay, sure. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I will post you the feedback. Okay, kindly fill the feedback and also kindly review the NVT page to ensure that this kind of safety training reaches all the citizens of India. Kindly fill the feedback and page review. Once you have been filled the feedback, the presentation will be reached your website, the kind of mail ID automatically. Thank you. If you have any other feedbacks, always you can able to write to NVT. The team is been exclusive for you for this industry empowerment session. Always you can able to contact them. And also from this week onwards, okay, from this month onwards, based on the request of many participants, 1 week a month, we are going to have a NVT circle member as a trainer, as a kind of discussion. We will have a discussion panel on different topics. You can able to share your best practices also to ensure that we are empowering the safety throughout our country. Okay, thank you once again. Have a safe weekend. Thank you all, and also I thank NVT for this wonderful opportunity.